What's up, guys? Alex Corey here with cultivatedchange.com. We're back with KC Gardens and the microgreens. This is going to be our last comprehensive tutorial on the easy to grow and common microgreens varieties. And this one we are doing wheatgrass and barleygrass. So the reason I'm trying barleygrass is just because I ran out of wheatgrass and it was actually back ordered for a little bit. So I panic bought barleygrass, and I had heard mainly from Donnie Greens that it had a different mineral composition. It's supposed to be slightly healthier for you. They're both heavy metal chelators, so they serve the same function. This was what happened whenever I just tried with the exact same procedure as wheatgrass. I did not sanitize because I don't usually with new seeds, just because you might not have to. These were, I think, 275 grams and 300 grams, and the blades just grew in diagonally. So probably gonna be a little different procedure. We're gonna go with 200 grams of the barleygrass, just because we're gonna go way down the density to see if we can get the trays to actually fill out and grow properly. And then my usual 275 grams of wheatgrass that came back in stock, so that's my normal rotation. I suspect it'll be about the same growing time, but we'll start with 200 grams on the barleygrass, and I don't actually know how this will turn out because I haven't gotten it standardized yet. So we are going to soak. Wheatgrass definitely needs a sanitize, so I do about 7% peroxide for a half hour. We'll go into that, and then I'm going to do the same thing for the barleygrass because there is a nice mold webbing at the base, more so than there should be than is with the wheatgrass. So we'll go into the soaking. Both I'm going to soak for 12 hours after a half hour sanitize. Or sorry, both we're going to soak for 24 hours after a half hour sanitize. It's been about a day since we sanitized the barleygrass and wheatgrass. I had sanitized in 7% peroxide and then rinsed and drained and then soaked overnight, and then these guys have just been drained, so I do leave them in water. And I wanted to show you the tap roots if we can see them. The barleygrass is less apparent. I see a couple. Those are the white little filaments on the ends of the seeds. The wheatgrass is always apparent, and that's what we go for when we try to soak. If you can see the little white roots sticking out there, those little differences on the very edges of the seeds, that's the root that'll start to dig into the soil. So we just give that a head start. That's the purpose of soaking for that long. Just ensure that it gets root colonization, gets into the soil quickly, and then it reduces your wait time while stacked. And we'll go out and seed these guys. We are outside seeding. I'm just going to go over this procedure very quickly because it's very windy and I might lose some seeds in the process, but so just standard 10-20 trays, and I've labeled them. This is our 200 grams of barleygrass. This is our 275 grams of wheatgrass. We're just going to fill some soil. And this is a mix that I'm trying. This is a Pro Mix, so it's peat and then a little compost. The mix I usually use is a Bush Doctor Coco Loco, but I've been experimenting with peat recently just because I've been having damping off, just too much moisture retention issues. So peat doesn't hold quite as much, so we're going to try that out. I do about 1 inch per tray, and if you want to know the full process, check out the masterclass here. But we're just going to level this as much as possible, get the clumps out, and that's why I do like the Coco Loco pre-made mix, just because there's never any clumps and it's usually a quick process. But we're gonna put about an inch of soil in here. We're just gonna tamp it down, water it, and then go over seeding real quick. That's about the right density. So the wheatgrass, I find 275 grams is pretty good for the warmer months, coming into the warmer months at least. So you want the soil well covered and not extremely stacked on each other, but that's about the right density. Not a whole lot of pockets or gaps. And the barley grass, this is just thinner than I had shown you at the beginning of the video. So it's pretty dense. Some, you can get as anal about it as you want, but that should be good enough. And then we're gonna stack these because I have a couple more, so I'll show you what I do for my stacking inside. We're inside stacking now. If you'll notice, if you've watched my other videos, this is a different germination area, and it is because I ran out of room on my other germination rack. I'm trying a sunflower experiment, which took up an entire shelf. So this is actually the plant start germination area. So we got some lettuce and some kale behind me that's almost ready, but this is how I stack. So I put the two labeled ones on the top. These are also wheatgrass, and that's just how much I need right now. But I know that wheatgrass, or the grasses in general, have a pretty good amount of germination pressure. So they'll be able to force those trays up. So 5 is about as much as I'll go, and we'll get a pretty good indication of both of these germination pressure because they don't have any weight on them. I will say wheatgrass does like to have some pressure pushing into the ground, much like a pea, and I usually stack a wheatgrass and a pea if I don't have this many wheatgrass, just because the seeds germinate so quickly and they have so much force that they'll actually push each other out of the way. Sorry. So I'm going to put this, it's a super strong tray, so it's made out of a different plastic, with a 10-pound paver on the top. And you'll see the water drip through as it gets compressed. This isn't ideal, but whatever. I'll put something here to buffer that. Good enough. Like I said, this isn't my usual germination chamber, but you will get some water drippage, so whatever you have below will get wet, which is why it's not ideal to do this inside, but I have some squash starts below which are getting watered right now, so that works. These will be in blackout for probably about 4 days. It is Friday today. I usually do this on Thursday, but cycles are changing, so I wanted to switch things up a day. We'll check on these on Monday and probably uncover them on Tuesday or somewhere around there. It's 3 or 4 days for the wheatgrass. The barleygrass, I don't know, so we'll see, but we'll check back in a couple days. It's Monday, 3 days after we seeded, and we're just checking on everything. The barley has germinated well. You can expose that to light now if you want to grow straight up. I usually wait until Tuesday, and then the things that have more pressure haven't germinated quite as much. Wheatgrass, and same thing. I'll give them another day just to get a little taller, just because that fits my 10-day cycle. I don't actually have space for them on the lights right now, but if you're growing them for yourself, you can pull them at any time once everything has germinated. The longer they stay stacked, the more chance you run of running into mold. It is day 4 post seeding, so it's Tuesday. I've done 4 full days, and these guys are ready to come out. I usually actually have to wait an extra day or so past when they would ideally, this is fine, but like I showed you yesterday, the longer you wait, the more time you risk mold, since barleygrass and wheatgrass both usually have a fungus, and the sanitization procedure doesn't kill it all. So this is the absolute max when I would wait. And we're just going to unstack them here, and so we're going to take the brick off. And that looks pretty good. So you'll notice the edges. And the other reason you don't want to wait any longer is the roots start growing into the bottom tray. So that's, germination looks good. I don't see any major mold issues, and there is still some water draining through. So good, very good germination. Smells like wheatgrass and barleygrass. And we're going to just place these on bottom trays. I don't immediately water, especially if they're still soaked like that. I turn lights on and let them sit for at least half a day, if not a day, or the next morning I will water. And that's just to give any potential mold issues a chance to dry out and not take over and form a web and thrive. So we'll just quickly put these underwater, put these in their bottom trays, and I will turn the lights on, and then we'll do some probably 7-day and 10-day check based on growth. We're back checking on the barleygrass and wheatgrass. This is the week mark, so today is Friday. We seeded last Friday afternoon, so just short of 7 days exactly. And there's a slightly noticeable difference here. I don't know if you can tell, but the barleygrass, this guy, is maybe ½ inch to an inch shorter. And it was on the top of the stack, so we know that's not because of pressure. So it just doesn't grow as quickly, apparently. Wheatgrass next to it, and then I have the other wheatgrasses that I need next to it, and they're all the same basic height. I just want to go over watering quickly, and it depends on the soil you're in, obviously. So if you're in cocoa, it'll hold water a little more, like I am. These are peat specifically, because we were doing the experiment, or I was doing an experiment with peat mixed with compost, but same basic. That compost makes it turn into cocoa coir a little bit, makes it hold a little more water. So I do about 1/3 of a growler. That's just what I use to water. So I do about 20 ounces every other day. And you'll know when they need water. Just because of weight, you'll get used to it. You don't want to keep them drenched every day unless you have some serious airflow, or it's just baking. Very, very hot, dry, wherever you're growing them. There is a web that can form if you just keep them soaked. I'll do a close-up. I don't have it on these because I'm keeping them dry, so it's perfect. But it does happen in the summer. Any area with high humidity, you'll see a web just running across the base of it. And you cut high when you harvest, so that's fine. But these are doing well. There's no mold. If you can see, there's water droplets on the top of the blades. So they wick moisture extremely quickly, and they drink immediately. So you do want to feed them at least every other day a good amount of water. So just fully saturate, let them dry out, fully saturate, let them dry out. They drink as much as peas and sunflower, just because they're entirely water. It's liquid chlorophyll, so it's just chlorophyll. And water. That's all wheatgrass is, and barleygrass. So keep them well hydrated, but not to the point where they're just constantly saturated, and you'll start getting that mold. And we'll check in. So I harvest these on day number 13 usually. 10-day is when they're ready, so we'll check in on Sunday, and they'll be at a harvestable height, and then we'll check in when I actually go to harvest. Back with day 10 of our experiment. Today is Monday. and I will harvest on Wednesday. So I do a 12, 13 day cycle for these guys, but 10 days is usually where most people will cut it if they do a Tuesday halving or a Tuesday seeding for a Friday delivery or something like that. So no real change since last time. Both have grown, but at the same rate. So our wheatgrass is still significantly taller than our barleygrass, and that wouldn't have anything to do with density. I think that's just the seed. As we mentioned, the barleygrass was on top of the stack, so not suppressed by any excess pressure or anything. And all of our wheatgrasses are pretty similar across the top, and 2 of those were on the bottom, so wheatgrass doesn't seem to be affected by pressure either. The pressure is just to help them germinate, just to help the seeds remain in contact with the moist soil, and then their own natural growth speed, and then the light, depending on... I might do an experiment with different types of lighting with these guys, just because I have noticed some tip burn with fluorescent lighting, and I've experimented with LEDs, but I don't know what it'll do to barleygrass. So we might actually do one of those in another video, or right after this I might extend it. We'll see how that goes. But I've got another 2 days to harvest on these guys, and I will probably go up in density on the barleygrass. This is 200 grams, and it looks like it could be a little thicker without any real mold issues, so maybe 225 we'll try next time, or I might do 225 and LEDs just as an experiment to see. But I'll cut these in 2 days, and I'm guessing wheatgrass I usually get about 14 ounces out of, somewhere between 12 and 14. The barleygrass probably will be about 10 to 12, but we'll do a final harvest or a final count on Wednesday. We'll do a quick harvest. We have finally reached harvest day, 12 days, 12 borderline 13 days after seeding, and this is about the proper height. So I will either sell this to a juice bar living just like this, and they can chop at it as they see fit, and it will regrow. If you cut it about an inch tall and leave the growth center, that will regrow given some natural light. You'll never get the density that you would have the first time, so I don't find it all that appealing to do it that way, but you can do it. So we're just going to harvest these and weigh them out, because I actually have a home delivery service that employs cut wheatgrass, so they're going to go right to someone this afternoon. We'll start with the wheatgrass first. Again, that was 275 grams. We'll do the barleygrass after, and that was 200. And I will definitely do 225 grams next time, so we can guesstimate how much weight we would get from the barleygrass if it were a little denser. I'm going to take a guess and say the wheatgrass can be 14 grams or 14 ounces, and the barleygrass might be 10. The only consideration that is will make an impact, obviously, is water retention. I will soak the wheatgrass 2 days before harvesting. So on usually Monday morning, I will drench it, and then let airflow and lights try to make it as dry as possible, just because it keeps longer that way. When you do cut it, you want to get rid of any excess moisture. If you do have some moisture on it when you're cutting it, put a paper towel or something in the bottom of the bag just to wick up that moisture, just so it preserves the shelf life. But let's get harvesting. So that's another surprise. They were the exact same, not tenths of an ounce, but both about 10 ounces. So the wheatgrass was a little light. Not sure why that was. Usually that's about 12, 14 ounces. And the barleygrass was 10 ounces, so that was heavier than I thought it was going to be. So the barleygrass would actually be a little bit higher weight if the density was knocked up to 225 grams or something like that. So I might extend this, like I said last or 2 nights ago. We'll do another experiment. Probably put them under LEDs and see if the density fluctuates at all or if the total weight, but about the same. And then slightly different nutritional content, but someone will be very happy this week that they get double the amount of grass to juice. And we'll see what happens with the next generation. All right, so I just put one of each wheatgrass and barleygrass under LEDs. Those are T8 LEDs. They're 50, each one is supposedly or the equivalent of a 54 watt fluorescent, same amount of lumens. So we'll see if we get the same minor tip burn under the LEDs and if we get the same yields. So the benchmark is 10 ounce of each, and this is day 1. We'll just do just a quick shot every day just so you can see how quickly they each grow. Right now the barleygrass seems to be doing a little better than the wheatgrass. I don't know why. They were stacked the exact same way beforehand, but this might be different than our previous experiment just because they look quite different right now, but we shall see. We'll do daily check-ins. Okay, we are back with the end of our LED experiment. The tips look better. I don't see any tip burn there on this LED right behind me that I have off right now just because it kills the camera light. But this looks better tip burn, and it looks about the same height, so there might not be a tremendous difference. We're just going to do a quick harvest. I'm going to tear this, and then we'll do the wheatgrass first, and we'll do the barleygrass after, and our benchmarks are 10 ounces each. Let's just do it. That's 8 ounces, so not quite as much. Might be a little bit different tray. I wasn't watering a ton, so that might be dry leaves. Just because if you can see, there's a ton of mold in there at the bottom. That's why you cut high. So didn't get quite as much grass as I could have, just because I had to cut high. And it might have been very, very dry because I had been watering as little as possible. The humidity has been up, and that greatly affects wheatgrass. Wheatgrasses, or grasses in general, sweet spot tends to be early spring, late fall when the humidity is down, but the temperatures are still right around 68, 70. But as for tip burn, as for the health of the grass, that looks pretty good right there. So no tip burn, and it'll still be delicious for a juice. 8 ounces on the wheatgrass. Watering and mold wise, that could have been 9, 10 possibly. So that's pretty similar. And let's do the barleygrass quickly. And that is 10.8. So a little higher. There is no mold problem on the barleygrass. I mean, it's there, but not crawling. So it might just deal with airflow and water better since it's a lower density. This one was also 225 grams. So we jacked it up 25 grams from our previous experiment. So we got 0.8 ounce extra from 25 extra grams, which is definitely not worth it. It's worth it just if you're trying to get as much out of a tray. So if you're doing it for yourself, for sure. But cost-wise, that extra 25 grams doesn't make a ton of difference weight-wise. That looks very healthy, though. So LED and fluorescent difference is negligible. It's almost impossible to discount other variables for that weight difference, but the tip burn definitely looks better on LEDs, so might swap to only growing them under LEDs. A lot of people who grow them in greenhouses run into this issue, or just indirect sunlight where they burn really easily, so you can't keep them out in the sun. Farmers markets, things like that. But That is it for this tutorial on how to grow the grasses. See the beginning of the video for nutritional differences and taste differences. Barleygrass is definitely not as sweet as the hard red winter wheatgrass, and wheatgrass will remain my staple for home delivery and juice bars, but barleygrass is a real good one to know how to grow, especially in a backup situation. A little less sweet, but I think the aesthetic is a little better and seems to be less prone to mold. Until next time. I hope you found the video of some value. My goal is just to decentralize the food system as much as possible by spreading information that I found useful to growing all sorts of food over my last decade of growing. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a donate link down in the description. I also have an affiliate through True Leaf Market for microgreen and bulk garden seeds below. My social media you can find on the Linktree account. I'll take you to everything I pay attention to. Let me know what you'd like for future videos. Until then, build your community, build your resilience. Thanks for stopping by.